Hi everyone, I'm Jason. I am CEO and co-founder of Start Codon.
Hi everyone, I'm Dan. I'm COO and co-founder of Start Codon.
We are here to basically ask each other questions that we often get asked, so everybody gets to know us a bit better. So I think we should just dive in.
Go for it.
First one I'm going to ask is, what is something people don't know about you?
Oh, that's a pretty long question.
Keep it short.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting to drop that one, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm a huge, massive, dirty metal fan. To, head-banging proportions, dirty metal fan. I'm also a huge, huge comic geek. Superheroes, Marvel, DC, not what people expect when they first meet me, but yeah, that's broadly it.
I can confirm that. I remember when we were in the office, hearing the death metal coming from your eardrums, thinking like, oh my gosh, how could you hear anything after that?
You find it just drowns out everything else, right? Which can be a good thing sometimes.
Well, this is true. Sometimes in our line of work, sometimes you need to drown out some noise.
So I've got a question for you.
Okay.
So, what was your first impression? Because obviously we met each other, so what was your first impression when you met me?
My first impression when I met you? Oh.
3 years down the line.
This is true, 3 years down the line. So most people don't know that we were introduced. We went on a mini date at a bar.
Yeah.
Everything that's good in Cambridge starts out with alcohol. Or at least in a pub.
As my wife tells me, no good love story starts with a salad.
This is true. She is your better half.
That is true.
Hi, Kim, if you're listening. We miss you. So my first impression of you was like, wow, he's big, like rugby lad, like, oh my God, this guy's scary. He could probably beat me up. And then I thought, after that was, oh, but he's actually really quite a gentle soul. So it was that was my first impression. I thought, here's someone who you came through, you had your lawyer face on, you were this guy, and like you go to the gym, you're like, oh my gosh. I thought, And then I thought, actually, Dan, he's a teddy bear. That was my first two impressions. What about you?
So I was quite intimidated, actually. I met a guy I thought...
It was the afro, wasn't it?
It wasn't the afro. It wasn't the afro.
Definitely the fro.
It was the energy.
Oh.
It was the energy that really, really got it for me. My first impression was, my God, he's got a lot of energy. And my second impression was, we can channel that.
And now you know why I don't drink coffee.
That is true.
Imagine me on caffeine. It's not pretty. It's not. So, next question. Why Start Codon? Because we both were in very successful career tracks. We had great jobs. We had stability, which I'm sure our families enjoyed. And then we went home one day and said, you know what, we're going to throw all that away because we want to build something new. So what was it about this opportunity that appealed to you?
I think for me, it was always about, finding something that I wanted to do and really enjoyed and would give me the variety and challenges that I wanted to be involved with. I also think it was about, from a personal perspective, I have a rare disease. I've, unfortunately lost a daughter, a few years ago. And, for me, it was all about finding solutions to health problems and combination of intrinsic interest and a desire to actually, work out whether we could translate more stuff from the clinic into commercial ventures, into something that would ultimately help people was what was the appeal to me to start the business. And frankly, I think when we first met, we got on together like a house on fire, and the combination of all of it really just drove it forward for me. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the ability to do something with you. I thought this is going to be a lot of fun, but it kind of combined the best of all worlds for me because I'm passionate about science and I'm really passionate about people. And what I loved is that our job every day is to help people translate their science into the real world. And that's just the best job ever. We see new technologies, new problems that could be solved, founders from every different background you can imagine, and we get the opportunity to just give them that extra boost of confidence that they need. And I think what's really great about what we do is that even if they don't come through Start Codon and ultimately with investment, I'd like to think that we set them off better off than when they met us. That's got to be our goal always. Can we introduce them to somebody else? Can we help them get other type of investment? Can we tell them, here's what you need to do to come back and speak to us again? So I thought the opportunity to be able to help as many people as possible, which is what we are literally doing every day, was great. And the science element of it ticked all the right boxes. I was like, I'm in.
No, I agree. So I do have a related question actually, which is that, so, you know, looking at the spinning out piece, what is it that you think we give the most value add from? What do we do that helps the people that we invest in the most? It's a key value add.
I think, and this is no shade to other programs, but we can speak for ourselves and what we've seen. We really do handhold. We always tell people we're like your co-founders. Think of us as your co-founders, but we literally are. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We're constantly on the phone saying, how can we help unplug this, negotiate this deal, working weekends, working nights, working our special Blurp Day. For those of you who are listening at home, Blurp Day.
It is an 8-day
It's
week.
the 8th day of the week. So all the things that we're going to get done, we just say, well, do it on Blurp Day. That's a Start Codon insight. But I love the fact that we really are there with our founders, and it feels like family. And I think that that's something that's quite unique. We want to nurture, we want to support, but we are really in the trenches. We roll up our sleeves. It's not just, let's have a call and let's give you some advice. It's literally, I'll help you with that. I'll help you with those terms. I'll help you with your logo, whatever it may be. We're here for it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's about having investors who are genuinely interested in, well, aside from what you've said, and you kind of stole all the good material there, but it's about having people who are genuinely interested in the business and the technology, but also in the people. And you know, the decision, as we all know in VCs, you know, people say it's made on the people, but it's you know, it's not just in our case just on the ability to execute. That's essential. It's also on the outlook of people, what they want to do, how they want to give back. You know, there's an underlying ethos that goes beyond just pure ROI in terms of the people we pick, the people we invest in, the people we choose to work with. And that, to me, you know, how we can help them as people as well as in business, I think is tremendously important.
So I've got a follow-up question for you now. I'm not going to say what keeps you awake at night, because that's such a standard question, and I know it's your kids. Exactly, because it's the same with me when we're texting each other, like, are you awake? Yes, I'm awake as well. So instead, I'm going to ask you, in 10 years' time, because we talk about this a lot, where do you see Start Codon? Because when we're out and people are asking us, okay, this is nice, you're doing these things, but what's the big ambition besides making a great return for our investors?
So yeah, the return's relevant. I think for me, it's really about, it's about creating a legacy, creating ecosystems where we can say we've genuinely not only impacted in terms of being able to, you know, create jobs, create opportunities, you know, get great science, great products, provide great services to people and patients. It's about creating opportunities where they didn't previously exist. It's about nurturing those opportunities and those environments. We're really looking to create ecosystems where they didn't exist. I think if we can get somewhere in 10 years to achieving that, to helping to really bring new ecosystems to light as well as developing existing ecosystems, I think that would be the aim. That would be the legacy that I'd want us to create. Just on the legacy piece, I'd be really interested to get your thoughts on where you think we're going to be in 10 years.
Well, you know I've got a crazy...
Because if we're not dovetailing, then, you know, we've got some problems.
This is that moment.
And everyone's going to see.
This is that moment where it's like, I thought you read the business plan about the amusement park I was going to build in Milton Keynes, because you know how much I love Milton Keynes. But really, what I would love for us to be is, I tell people this a lot now, kind of the Motown of biotech investment. And I'll keep the story short because everybody should do their homework about how Motown came to being. But what I think is fantastic is you have somebody in Berry Gordy who started off wanting to be a musician, didn't work, and he had a record store, that didn't work. Then he went to work at the Ford car factory plant, and basically he said, wait a minute, if I take the production line, the modularity of what they do at the Ford plant and apply it to music, I could really make something sing. So instead of being a musician and selling records in a record shop, he decided to start his own record label. And that was the genesis of Motown. And he had over 79 top 10 hits in the course of a decade. Over 79. And in our field of investment, you tend to get VCs who basically assume, well, I'm going to invest all in my portfolio. Maybe a couple of them will be successful, and a couple of those will be unicorns, and I'll make my returns, and the rest will just kind of fade away, and that's just the way it is. I really feel that if we do this properly, each and every one of the companies that we back will be a success. So I want to be able to say, every single time that we back a company and work with them, we bring together all the elements they need to make their technology sing, to really help support the team, to help them grow, help them reach the market, and help them save lives. But again and again and again, no more of this, well, most of you will fail and a couple of you will be unicorns and I'll raise a new fund. I think we have to destroy that trend.
So rather than kind of platinum records, you want 48 tombstones on the bookshelf.
Exactly, exactly. Again and again and again. And I feel that we'll do it. We just got to make sure that we always keep that at the forefront of our mind. It's like every time we make an investment, it's not a flip a coin chance. We're doing it because we feel that we can actually help those founders achieve all their dreams, and we've got the resources to make it happen.
So just so following up on that, then I guess the first question is that you're a founder. You see this video, you're not entirely put off, and you want to apply for Start Codon. What advice would you give them in terms of applying, in terms of what you think that they need to do? What is it that really, when you see an opportunity, grabs you?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that potential founders or inventors make is they wait too long to engage with us or engage with investors, full stop. They're thinking that they have to be perfect. One of our good friends always says, don't make perfection the enemy of good enough. And I love that expression because basically engage with us early. There are companies that we've invested in now that we've been speaking to for 2 years because it wasn't the right time when they first approached us, but we've built that relationship. And this is so much about teams and relationships in the investment world. I don't think many people understand that. They always think, I have to have the perfect experiment, the perfect moment, the perfect time. Engage with us early. Let us be the ones to say, you're too early, or maybe even too mature, or you're spot on, and have that conversation. You can never get started too soon. I think that's one of the biggest. What about you?
I think too often, and it's no one's fault. I think too often when people approach us, a lot of people have got great ideas, there's great science, they're good people, but sometimes the way they think about presenting it sometimes doesn't have the thought processes of, look, we really want to commercialize this in a certain sense. We want to develop it, we want to then commercialize it, and we want to make a business out of it. And often than not, what drives that is obviously the patient journey, getting the treatment. A lot of scientists we work with are really passionate about getting that treatment and finding the next technology that will cure X or Y or Z. And I think perhaps looking at it as a venture, looking at the, when you think about it, the problem, the solution, what it is that you want to achieve, having a vision. Sometimes the technology is there, but it's not about having a perfect idea, but it's about understanding from the outset that if you're going to do something with the technology, that you are going to be in business. It's not an extension of academia. And I think it's a really important point, but it's a really important mindset point that I think if you can understand, or not even understand, but just try to think in a certain way, I think it really helps the chances, it really helps inform decision making, it helps to give confidence to people like us when we meet people that actually it's something that they want to do, and it's not just something which actually they're feeling they need to do because of, either they can't get the funding in academia or otherwise. So yeah, that were my thoughts.
I couldn't agree more. And I think just kind of building on that, there's this hammer nail syndrome that we see sometimes as well. People get so enamored with their particular technology. It's like it's a hammer looking for a nail, and everything looks like a nail, and they just go around smashing opportunities and ideas until they find the one that makes sense. That's the wrong way to do it. You should be led by an unmet need and solution that you are developing, or unmet need rather, that you're developing a solution towards, as opposed to, I have something really clever, trust me, it's brilliant, I have a Nature paper. It's like, well, guess what? Lots of people have Nature papers. That does not make a successful business, but we can help them work through all of that and help them understand that transition, as you said, from an academic way of thinking to a commercial way. Yeah,
agreed. And I think, so, thinking on that, on approaching us, what, as an entrepreneur, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice you give prospective or future entrepreneurs? So people who want to do something, obviously, set up their own business. What's the primary piece of advice that you give?
Well, the one I say all the time is that you don't have to be the first to do something, and you don't have to be the only person doing it. And in fact, we like when other people are doing it because competition shows that there's real opportunity and there's a market. But you just have to explain how you plan to be the best. So don't have to be the first, and you don't have to be the only one, but you do have to be the best one. And we can help you chart that path towards being the best in your category, in your sector, in your field. That's the thing I think a lot of people trip themselves up on. They get so hung up on trying to convince everyone, oh, no one else is doing it, I'm the first to have done it. I don't want to hear that, because there's competition. And my favorite thing to do is Google while somebody's talking to me and say, oh, what about this company? And they say, oh, I've never heard of them. But then I thought, well, you need to go and do your homework. I'd rather you come in well-versed in the competition and the unmet need and the challenges of bringing your product or your idea to market, and then we map out the strategy together of how to do that, rather than trying to convince us that you invented sunshine. Because guess what, you didn't. Yeah,
and change. The ability to change, the ability to develop. That self-reflective part is so crucial, because not just having that technology and then working out to mapping out, but environments change, markets change, people change, and having the ability to self-reflect, to look, to not be afraid to pivot, having the belief in yourself to be able to do that, I think is tremendously valuable. And it's, in my opinion, it's what sets people apart. If it doesn't work, then they fix it. But also, if you feel you need to change because market forces are changing and you need to adapt as an organization, like we always talk about, I think it's a tremendously important skill set to have, and something which people always forget about.
I think it's really the human side.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think one of the reasons why we're having this conversation now is because we want people who are listening to us to understand that we're all human at the end of the day. Don't be fooled by what you see in the press releases or even what you see in videos and everything's really nice and polished. We're all people. We have our kids who keep us awake at night. We all have our concerns and doubts, and we support one another. I think to your point about being self-aware, you have to understand what your gaps are and find ways to close those gaps. You can't be the end all and be all. You can't build a company on one individual. It is doomed to fail. Figure out what it is you bring to the table, where you can improve and where you need help, and come to us and we will help you map out that journey. And fundamentally, it's all about being very open and honest about that. I tell people all the time, I'm always at this event and that event. Sometimes I think people are probably sick of seeing my face at this panel and that panel, but I used to have paralytic stage fright when I was younger. I forced myself to go run for this or be out in the, let's say, world speaking to people to get over it, but I would have panic attacks. Now people would look at me now and say, no, you never, no, you're always up on stage, you're always doing things. That's not where I started. So if I can get over that, then anyone can get over whatever it is that they feel is holding them back.
See, what you need is a face for radio.
Well, it's one of your best qualities.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to kind of, go slightly left field now on things. And we talked earlier about what it is that, what people didn't know about you. What I really want to know about you, and completely, because you know mine, what I want to know is, what's your top 3 foods that you hate? Because you were looking at me earlier when I was throwing that cucumber in the bin, like I was a man possessed.
But I usually look at you like you're a man possessed. That's the kind of like, that look is frozen on my face. I'm just like the quizzical kind of, what is Dan up to now? Why are you chucking the cucumber away? 3 foods that I hate?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna cheat and say dairy. Not because I hate it, but because I can't actually eat it. And my other 2...
You do look like The Exorcist.
See, I could have said milk, cheese, and yogurt, but see, no, dairy. The other 2, I don't know, I pretty much eat anything. I'm kind of like a human garbage disposal. Just feed me. I'm good.
I'm just gonna put it out there. Cucumber's the devil's spawn.
Yeah,
that's largely it. When it comes to cucumber, I'm equally prejudiced towards all types of cucumber.
My Greek husband at home is not going to talk to you anymore. I'm just going to let you know. Cucumbers are everything.
There are some things that I'm going to have to sacrifice, mate, I'm afraid.
Nobody's perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I think it's been a really great conversation. It's always great when we can show more about the human side, what's happening behind the scenes.
And it's nice to not see you on a screen after 18 months of not being able to work together in the same office.
Exactly.
So, no, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, and please do get in touch.